And with the latest Monster Spielberg success about to open in Britain, BBC1 now takes a walk through the park.
A T-Rex only does what it knows how to do, which is to survive by eating and by foraging and by hunting and by preying, just like a Bengal tiger survives, by preying on weaker animals on the food chain. So a T-Rex isn't a monster. He's just an animal doing what he knows how to do best, which is to survive. So I don't think any of the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are monsters. Yes, they come after the people in a pretty obvious way, but people are just lower in the food chain than T-Rexes.
Fortunately, human beings and dinosaurs are separated by the safe distance of 65 million years. Or are they? With genetic engineering advancing at a startling speed, what if scientists were able to recreate the extinct species?
Now, this species of variformin's been extinct since the Cretaceous period. I mean, this thing is a monkey thing. What?
This is the premise of the new Steven Spielberg movie, Jurassic Park, starring Richard Attenborough, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, and Laura Dern, and based on the book by Michael Crichton.
Well, we clocked the T-Rex to 32 miles an hour.
T-Rex?
Mm-hmm.
You said you've got a T-Rex?
Uh-huh. Say again. We have a T-Rex.
The notion that that extinct animals can be recreated genetically is something that's been discussed for at least 10 years in scientific literature. And the nature of it has always been, it's sort of like the last paragraph of a technical article, you know, where people discuss ongoing advances in genetics and then say, you know, it's kind of interesting to speculate where this might go. And so my interest was always to work with the last paragraph.
Crichton's speculation was, quite simply, what if you found a 65 million-year-old insect, perfectly preserved in amber, which had fed off a dinosaur so its blood was intact? Could scientists extract its DNA, the ribbon of life, and create a new breed of dinosaurs? Paleobotanists at California Polytechnic are more than halfway there.
From Michael Crichton's book, regarding the book, there are certain facts in there which would go along with the story that he's created. First of all, there are blood-sucking insects in Cretaceous amber which have probably attacked dinosaurs. So there are probably dinosaur blood cells inside these insects in the amber. So that's correct. We know from the studies that we did that the tissue can be very well preserved. We also know from the studies that we've done is that there's DNA that's extractable, capable of amplification and sequencing that could be inside these tissues. This is as far as we go now in the real world.
The basis of the movie is to fill in the gap between science fact and science fiction.
It's almost invisible in this day and age when science is leaping into the future in quantum ways that we never imagined. So what you have suddenly are many, many more scenarios that would make for wonderful movie subjects by taking what is science eventuality and finding the drama or the melodrama inside that and trying to frame a story based on a very credible scientific foundation.
You know, when I first started, it was a very fanciful idea, and I was talking to friends at MIT and saying, I have this idea about engineering dinosaurs, and saying it very tentatively, and some of them said, "Yeah, it'll probably work," and which was kind of encouraging to me. But by the time the book came out, I knew a number of people in genetics laboratory, and it was interesting because the response of lots of them was, "It can be done." It can't, by the way. It can't be done, but it's at least in the realm of what people can think about now.
I told him, I said, "You wrote this movie for me to direct, didn't you?" And he said, "Well, gee, I thought I wrote it for me, and I made a fool of myself. I fell all over myself to make this movie in front of Michael. Doing everything but getting down on my knees and begging him because I loved the idea of, DNA and dinosaurs. Because I loved the idea of, DNA and dinosaurs in many combinations."
So, on an isolated island off the coast of Costa Rica, a combination of zoo and theme park has been created with computer-controlled compounds housing revenants from the Jurassic Age. The art was to recreate them. The danger lies in keeping them apart. Baby dinosaurs are bred in a high-tech hatchery owned by the eccentric millionaire John Hammond, played by Richard Attenborough. He assures the paleontologists Sam Neill and Laura Dern that the breeding is strictly confined to the laboratory. Not so.
You know what this is? It's a dinosaur egg. The dinosaurs are breeding.
But my grandpa said all the dinosaurs were girls.
Amphibian DNA.
What's that?
Well, on the tour, the film said they used frog DNA to fill in the gene sequence gaps. They mutated the dinosaur genetic code and blended it with that of frogs. Now, some West African frogs have been known to spontaneously change sex from male to female in a single-sex environment. Malcolm was right. Look. Life found a way.
Hammond, however, is blindly confident of his unique creation, enough to let his little grandchildren accompany the visiting paleontologists on their tour of the park.
In the book, he's perhaps a little more calculating, a little more Machiavellian almost in his ambitions and so on. Stephen and his writers have created a somewhat more sympathetic, I suppose, character. He really does love what he's doing. He really is absolutely mesmerized by this miracle that has come into his ken. And, of course, by virtue of his immense wealth, he has been able to create this extraordinary possibility. And so that when things don't work out, perhaps as he would have hoped, he's absolutely devastated.
Dick Attenborough was my first choice for Toodles when I made Hook. And he was just committed to do Chaplin at the time, and I couldn't get him for that. And I said to him on the phone, I said, "Okay, but I'm coming back on my next movie. I'm coming back at you for my next picture." And I don't think he believed me. And I had already purchased the novel Jurassic Park. So even before I made Hook, we had bought the novel. It just took 2 years to prep and build all the big dinosaurs and make Jurassic Park into a movie. And I was able to make Hook in between buying the novel of Jurassic Park and all the pre-production on Jurassic Park. So I didn't tell Richard I already had this part in mind when I read Michael Crichton's book. But I thought he'd be perfect for that character. I don't think Hammond's evil. I think in the book he's evil, but I think in the movie he's not an evil man. I think Hammond is just trying to entertain people. He is doing this thing, yes, for profit, but he really is more like Walt Disney and Ross Perot. He's a combination of Ross Perot and Walt Disney. Good family values, a great eye to entertainment and to pleasing people and getting people to like what you give them. And by the same token, a kind of chicanery, not quite telling the whole story, not making the entire point, and not looking at any of the possible dangers inherent in genetic engineering combined with theme parking, you see. And so, in that sense, he just is blinded by what this could be and what this could do for people. And he doesn't really think deeply into the technology to see what this could do to people.
Tim. Tim, can you tell me what they are?
Gallimimus.
Are those meat-eating metasauruses?
The wheeling, uniform direction changes, just like a flock of birds evading a predator.
They're flocking this way.
And these dinosaurs are positively friendly compared to any close encounters with the lethal velociraptors.
They should all be destroyed. Ah, Robert Muldoon, my game warden from Kenya. A bit of an alarmist, I'm afraid.
Alan Grant. Tell me, what kind of metabolism do they have? What's the growth rate?
They're lethal at 8 months, and I do mean lethal. I've hunted most things that can hunt you, but the way these things move...
Fast for a biped?
Cheetah speed? 50, 60 miles per hour if they ever got out in the open, and they're astonishing jumpers.
Yes. That's why we're taking extreme precautions. Do they show intelligence with their brain cavity? We assume
They show extreme intelligence, even problem-solving intelligence, especially the big one. We bred 8 originally, but when she came in, she took over the pride and killed all but 2 of the others. That one, when she looks at you, you can see she's thinking. She's the reason we have to feed them like this. She had them all attacking the fences when the feeders came.
The fences are electrified, right?
That's right. But they never attacked the same place twice. They were testing the fences for weaknesses systematically. They remember.
If anything, Spielberg pays more attention to his casting than his camera. Sam Neill and Laura Dern seem to him just ripe for their roles.
In a way, I was looking for, this is not to take anything away from the charisma, which I think Sam and Laura both possess, but I was looking for an anonymity. I was looking for actors who would, come sort of fresh to the roles without a lot of memorabilia of past, icon movies behind them. I mean, Sam and Laura have both made wonderful but quiet films. They unlike the big movie stars of today, and they both have shots of being big movie stars themselves. But up to now, they've made wonderful movies about personal expression and much more intimate films, the kind of movies that I'd like to make someday, but I don't make enough of. And so I like that. I like how natural Sam and Laura are as actors and how they kind of, you don't hear the dialogue when they open their mouths and they speak. You just hear their own words. And then she comes up from about here and...
Any drama, no matter how many dinosaurs it may have in it, relies on the human actors for its energy and emotion. Spielberg pumps up Laura Dern for her reunion with a battered Sam Neill.
Breathing. Go back. Do it breathing. Do it breathing. Go back with your mouth open. To camera, not too fast, just breathing. Okay. A little too feral. A little too feral. Go back again. I'm going to keep you going for a while. Feral, meaning a little too primitive. Good. Worried. Good. Hear something. Hear something. Hear something. Go up to...
The cast are equally concerned with the morality of what could happen if a Jurassic Park were ever created.
It's the creation that's so exciting. It's not the protection of the integrity of what one is doing. And I think we see that a lot, and that's certainly what scares me. Where do they cross the line? I worked on a film called Fat Man and Little Boy, and I learned a great deal about, and I actually got to spend time with a couple of the men who were engineers on the atom bomb. They were so excited by their creation, they didn't stop to think if they should make it. And it reminds me a lot of this situation, a lot.
I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but I think the whole business of fooling around with DNA and cloning and that area of science is very scary indeed. It scares the hell out of me. And I don't like it. I don't like
genetically engineered vegetables. I think it's creepy, and I think we're in danger of opening up a whole Pandora's box of God knows what. I think some things are best left alone. Just because we have the knowledge to do something doesn't necessarily make the doing of that thing acceptable or wise.
Jeff Goldblum has already issued dire warnings in his capacity as a chaos mathematician.
From what I gather, it's a new branch of mathematics that has redefined and extended the way we know about how the world works. It's a system that has ways of measuring turbulence, the turbulent activity in life, as opposed to all the linear Newtonian ways of measuring balls and geometry. It's a new way of looking at things, and it says that that built into nature is chaos, is unpredictability, but underneath that is another measurable kind of pattern.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it typecasting. It's just that Jeff is extremely full of quirks and nuances and interesting behavior, and it's served his entire career as one of the most interesting actors in America today. But I thought, in that sense, I was going to use that kind of abstract side of Jeff for the chaotician, Ian Malcolm.
Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for at least 160 million years. They got their name from the British paleontologist Sir Richard Owen. Dinosaur, terrible lizard. Remains of similar animals have been found as far apart as East Africa and here in Utah, but their bones are pretty well all we know about them for certain.
People have been digging for centuries, for so many centuries, that it's astonishing that no one dug up a bone 300 years ago as opposed to 140 years ago and said, gee, this is a lot bigger than the cow I milked this morning. I wonder where this came from, or even possibly excavating for civilizations or to build foundations for modern civilizations, and having come across some kind of an incredible T-Rex skull and not having any mythology arise from those discoveries. That is as big a mystery to me why paleontology didn't begin 500 years ago, why it only really began 150 years ago.
The significant change occurred in the early 70s when scientists began to give up an idea that was current for most of this century, which is that dinosaurs were very slow and cold-blooded and kind of big, stupid animals that deserved to die. And from a whole variety of disciplines, there began to be perceptions that this wasn't really accurate or even possible, that in order to pump blood up the neck of a brontosaurus, you were going to have a much more active metabolism than people had previously imagined.
Our raptors are based on fossil records and bones and the study of fleshing bones to see what a sculptor can do to molding what it would really have looked like then. And some assumptions about the coloration of the skin we had to make because, of course, there's no fossil record at all of what their skin looked like in terms of color or marbling.
They were the dominant form of life for literally hundreds of millions of years. And to conceive of that, we must imagine, or I certainly imagine, that the dinosaurs had the same variety of behaviors that mammalian life does now. That some animals are solitary, some animals are social animals, some animals are predatory, some animals are not predatory, they're herbivores.
Go away!
It's okay. It's a brachiosaur.
It's a Vegisaurus, Lex, Vegisaurus.
Veggie. Can I touch it?
Sure. Just think of it as kind of a big cow.
I like cows.
Action on the cars. When you watch Steven Spielberg at work, you get a sense of his pervasive intensity. Other directors might let the operator suggest the shot. Spielberg is absolute in his own decision. Equally with actors, especially child actors, he manipulates their every move.
And cut, print. Next shot. Now. I just sort of feel it through. I mean, it starts with a script. But I also believe from experience that there is a kind of heightened suspense and heightened anxiety toward the people in the movie you're identifying with. Certainly not the dinosaurs, but the human characters that you want to see survive and get through the experience, that creates its own rhythms. And it's personal and different with everybody who watches a movie like this. It's not that I'm making a movie that's going to hit everybody the same way, but everybody will have their different a different set of responses to what we're doing as filmmakers. And with Jurassic Park, I found that the characters in this movie kind of supply their own comic relief, if you will, just by nature of who they are. You know, Jeff Goldblum has a lot of wonderful moments in this movie where he relieves the tension with a line here and there, and Laura Dern plays all of her fear, not screaming for 50 minutes straight, but she doesn't scream very much at all in the movie. She just has a great will to survive, and that strength is very admirable in her, and it takes her away from the screaming heroine that we've seen in the old days. Even I, with my wife, Kate Capshaw, I made her scream for almost 90 minutes of the 2 hours of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You know, and it was no way to build a character. I thought it was at the time, but I was wrong.
Having faced on more than half a dozen occasions now the problems of directing, and that is how best to place a sequence in its correct juxtaposition with the right dynamic, with the right tempo, and therefore the right use of camera and the right use of camera movement and so on. I'm fascinated that he does an immense amount of homework. He comes with his storyboards, and his sequences totally worked out.
And we just pull back a bit to see it, and then we cut into the shot we just made where you take this to the group. What are they doing? And then the next shot after the one we're doing now will be the cow going up. And
Vulnerable little figures you do. Vulnerable little.
Very vulnerable little figures. This is the best I've ever been able to do. This is the extent of my entire background as an artist.
Now, I, in my perhaps over meticulousness, would tend to stick to that storyboard, and I would tend to shape the sequence as I'd thought. Stephen, because of his immense experience and huge confidence in what he actually is going to achieve on the screen finally, is much freer with his camera, and he will see an angle which is immensely dramatic and immensely informative. And even without putting the camera up, having completed the sequence virtually, say, right, put the camera over there, I'm going to shoot it from this. And when you see it on the rushes, of course, on the dailies, I mean, it's magic. He has an extraordinary ability to create an atmosphere by the camera, quite above and beyond the actual drama.
Praise from Richard Attenborough carries added significance. Spielberg has never won an Academy Award. In 1982, he was nominated for directing E.T., but the Best Director Oscar that year went to Attenborough for Gandhi. Spielberg may be wounded by his rejection by the Academy, but takes solace in his popular success and the pure pleasure he gets out of his job. He sculpts his scenes with joy. I'm a P.T. Barnum, he confesses, and I love putting on a good show.
Back straight toward the left. Now here comes the wreck. Turn around your feet.
What is that?
absolutely still. His vision's based on movement. Turn the light off. Turn the light off.
Turn the light off!
The movie actually has a big moral argument right in the middle of the film. Everybody sits around and talks about the morality of Jurassic Park and whether this should have been, begun in the first place. And I think it's a lot of, certainly, my opinion would be that there is a kind of immorality to creating something that already had its chance in evolution, and dinosaurs actually survived better than we did. We've only been around for about, what, certainly, 100 million years perhaps, and dinosaurs have been around, for 350 million years. So I think I think that being the most successful living form on this planet, and we're just beginning. We're kind of like a virgin, race of man, woman, however you say it without getting in trouble. I really think that it would be wrong to go back and bring the dinosaurs back in real life, but not in the movie.
Just a reminder that Spielberg's Oscar-winning Jaws will be wide open here on BBC One at 9:30 tomorrow night.